At 20 years old, I started doing this thing called high ticket appointment setting when I had just $7 in my bank account. I was able to make over $14,000 a month within my first 3 months of doing this. And in this video, I'm going to be, basically telling you guys my story on how I was able to get here from $7 a month to how I was able to get to where I'm at today. 10 months ago, guys, I was broke as fuck. Broke as fuck. And it wasn't because I was lazy. I actually have been trying online business for the last few years now. I've tried every business model you can possibly think of, but nothing was working. And 10 months ago in particular, I'd blown all my money on my last business and I pretty much had no money left to my name. And to make things worse, I was married. I'm still married. I was married and living with my parents. As you guys can probably tell, that wasn't the most attractive thing for my wife. You know what I mean? I have a husband who's broke as fuck, and now we're living with mom and dad. No offense, mom and dad. You know what I mean? Everybody around me is successful, and I'm an absolute loser. So 10 months ago, guys, I literally reached a breaking point where I needed to make money. I needed to be successful, and I needed it to happen now because I was literally probably a couple decisions away from not doing the best things to make money. Let's just say that. And before I go take the regular 9-to-5 route, which there's nothing wrong with working a 9-to-5 job. It's just personally, it's not for me. I've done it before. I can't do it. You know what I mean? I like to move around. I like to go places, and I can't be tied down to one location. So I had to figure out how to make money from my computer so that I can just be able to move around and do my thing. I started browsing the internet for ways to make money online. And after a few hours of scrolling the internet, I see this Arab dude. He's yapping on the internet about how he's making so much money on the internet, and I wasn't quite comprehending what this dude was talking about exactly, but he said enough in his YouTube videos that was making enough sense to me, which is why I'm making this video, because hopefully this basically sparks the same experience for one of you guys. So I was like, okay, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. I look him up on Instagram. When I find his Instagram, he just posted a Instagram story 30 seconds ago saying, I am hiring US based appointment setters. Swipe up and apply. I had no idea what an appointment setter was, but like I said, I was 20, I was married, I was broke, so I didn't give a fuck, and I applied immediately. And if you don't know what appointment setting is, you have these big influencers who have these big personal brands online. Think the Iman Gadzis, think the Andrew Tates, pretty much any big influencer you can possibly think of that sells, courses, mentorships, consulting programs, right? They would rather go ahead and outsource that and pay somebody like myself or somebody from my team to do it for them so that they can do what famous and rich people do all day and not do that, essentially. That's pretty much what it is. You're basically working for these influencers who are damn near celebrities, and you're selling their programs for them, and for every program that you sell, you get a commission out of it. I ended up getting a brief understanding of what this industry was, what an appointment setter was, and I was like, fuck, I get to work with rich dudes, you know what I'm saying? I get to work with famous people pretty much, and I get to sell their programs. And I'm already thinking, because I know when it comes to sales, like, if you make a famous dude more money, he's gonna fuck with you, and then you can lock in with them. Great way to network, by the way. And so that was really my mentality. I didn't really care about the money making aspect that much. I just wanted to get in a vehicle where if I could provide enough value to high value dudes, then that would get me in certain rooms that you can't even buy. So boom, I started applying. And in the application, it's basically you have to make this video, kind of like what I'm doing right here, and basically explain why you are the perfect fit for the role. So in my video, and I'll link the video down below, if you guys want to go and apply to these other influencers, you can take some inspiration from that. But basically, I end up submitting that video to the guy that I applied to, and he hit me back like a few days later. And when he hit me back, he was basically like, hey bro, we fuck with you, let's see if we can get this done. I got interviewed, I passed the interview, and now boom, I landed the role, right? And so when I landed the role, I was absolutely ass cheeks. I was fucking terrible. I was terrible at the job, calling thousands and thousands of people, and yeah, they're interested, but like I said, guys, these programs are thousands of dollars. So once they got that price drop, once I was like, yeah, it's gonna be like a few $1,000s, guess what everybody was doing to me? They were hanging up on my dumb ass. And I would get lucky a few times, but at the end, it was nothing consistent. And at the end of my first month of doing this, I was able to pretty much walk away with a whopping $400 paycheck. I made $400 my first month. Keep in mind, remember how much I made after my third month, right? In my very first month, I made $400. And honestly, I was in a point of time, I was in a crossroad where I knew this wasn't enough, but I have already failed every single business model you can possibly think of at this time. So I had no other option. You know what I'm saying? I had to make this work. At this point in time, this is month 2 I'm doing this. I go to visit my brothers, and my brothers are very successful college football players. My youngest brother gets paid a lot of fucking money, and I go to visit them. They play at Texas A&M at the time, and I fly into Texas from Cali, and my brothers are, shout out my brothers, they were able to sneak me into their practice. And as I'm walking through their practice, and I'm walking through, watching them train at a very high level when it comes to sports, for some reason, something just starts clicking off in my brain. Seeing these high level athletes who are getting paid a lot of money to play their sport, and they're training every day, they're getting coached up, they're reviewing film, they're practicing the same plays over and over again. That's essentially how they're able to obviously
I'm sorry, can you say that again, please?
Mercedes, stop. And I start to realize that this business and sales game is pretty much the exact same as sports. All right, you have players, you have opponents, you have a time, and you have a scoreboard. And if I treat my business and sales essentially just like how a pro athlete treats his sport, I can basically emulate the same sort of success that a pro athlete would in their respective sport, if that makes sense. Thinking from a successful athlete's perspective, I knew there was 3 things that I needed to do ASAP. Number 1 is, just like any successful athlete, I had to go find a coach, right? Doesn't matter how the fucking NFL players, every single NFL player has a trainer, he has a coach, doesn't matter how good he thinks he is. So if I'm ass cheeks, I need to go find somebody who has the results that I was looking for, so that they can basically help me not be so ass cheeks. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, guys, I didn't have a lot of money at the time, so I wasn't able to afford these super expensive training programs. But I took that $400 and invested it in a couple, lower level tier, like sales training, and it was good enough for me. You know what I mean? And once I found my coaching, basically, obviously, just like an athlete, the next step I knew I needed to do was practice. Okay, so once I had basically a basic level of coaching, everything that the sales coach, or it was pretty much like a sales community. Everything I learned from that community, I took it and I started practicing it on my own. I would practice it with my girl, with my homies, and through practicing, I was able to get a lot better than what I was doing before. And so the last thing that I needed to do was just run the plays, pretty much. Just like an athlete, get a coach, you practice what the coach is telling you, and then when you get in the game, you execute on the actual play that the coach is calling. And so when I started getting on these phone calls, I actually started to get a little good, right? This is month 2. Keep it in mind. Think how fast this is happening. Month 1, $400, broke ass nigga. Month 2, I'm starting to make money. You know what I'm saying? So I really, everything just started, like, I started not only making myself money, I was starting to take the company that I was working for from doing like $20K a week to now doubling the entire company. Like, I just on my own sales. And it got to a point where the dudes I was working for, you know what I'm saying? Like, who's this Benny guy that's making me a lot of money? I got to meet this dude. And I basically, guys, the dude I'm working for at the time, I'm still working very closely with him. He wasn't as, he's one of the most famous dudes on the planet right now. But at the time he wasn't, you know what I mean? They weren't that famous. We were still kind of small. The operation we were some little boys back then. They basically was like, hey Benny, pull up. You know what I mean? They got a like a mansion or something in Hollywood, and they're like, hey bro, let's meet. So boom, I spent my last few dollars on a plane ticket to go meet them in person, and that day forever changed my life. You know what I'm saying? And if you guys ever have a chance to get in these sort of rooms, you always need to take them, because in person, this whole online stuff is cool, right? But when you can meet these people in real life, it's always a lot better. And when I was able to meet these guys in real life and build a real connection with them, that's when I really solidified myself in this company. And then I ended up getting promoted to manager. And now, you know what I mean? That's month 2. I think I made like 8K my second month, right? And then month 3 and on, I was making 14K, and I was making 20K, and I'm managing at this time 30K, 40K, 50K, and it just keeps going up, and it's only gonna continue going up. And it all started from the first day when I found out how this whole appointment setting thing worked, when I really got my eyes opened up to this entire industry. That's my story on how I was able to go from $7 in my bank account to $14,000 a month in my first 3 months of appointment setting, to where I'm at today, making a lot more than 14 grand a month. There's some tips for you guys on how you can go from 0 to your first 10K a month appointment setting. Hope this helped you guys. Subscribe to the channel if you fuck with your boy. Catch you guys in the next one.